Is the unity of Africa the United States of Africa? Idea as proposed by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana in 1958. A mirage. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana and a leading figure in the Pan-African movement, advocated for African unity as a means to achieve independence, development, and progress for the continent. His vision was to create a unified Africa that could stand strong economically, politically, and culturally on the world stage. Nkrumah believed that by uniting African nations, they could better resist colonialism, neo-colonialism, imperialism, and external interference. He saw the unity as an essential tool which would empower Africa economically and lead to prosperity. Nkrumah's objective for Africa unity was to empower African nations to assert their sovereignty, achieve economic independence, and work together to address the challenges facing the continent. He saw unity as a crucial step towards realizing the full potential of Africa and its people. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah foresaw the formidable forces that were against Africa's interest far back in the 1958 and spoke against it in a speech he delivered on African Freedom Fighters Conference in Accra in 1958. Today, in the 21st century, these forces are staring us in the face, as in IMF, World Bank, Paris Club, and all other credit institutions that claim to be helping Africa countries. Listen to what Dr. Nkrumah said 66 years ago about Africa unity and the need for it.
Forces arrayed against us are, and I use the word most carefully, formidable. They are entrenched and powerful. They are, as I have taken some pains to explain, the forces of imperialism acting through their instruments neocolonialism and colonialism, ably assisted by the agents of the Cold War. They operate in worldwide combinations at all levels: political, economic, military, cultural, educational, social, and trade. And not all, and through intelligence, cultural, and information services. They operate from European and African centers, using agents who, I'm ashamed to say, are often unpatriotic sons of Africa, buying personal satisfactions with the betrayal of their country's safety and integrity. They seduce leaders. They seduce leaders of the African political, trade union, and people's organization, thus creating rifts and quarrels within the national front. On the broader front, they are amassing their forces in a determined effort to stay the advance of African liberation and the march of unity. And for the sake of Africa, let us speak plainly. As I see it, our greatest danger stems from disunity and the inability to see that the realization of our hopes and aspirations, the realization of our objective of total African independence, and of our future progress and prosperity is inextricably bound up with the necessity to unify our policy and actions in connection with the continued struggle for independence and the greater task of economic and social reconstruction beyond it. We must therefore face the issue of African unity now, for only unity will make the artificial boundaries and regional demarcations imposed by colonialism obsolete and superfluous. African unity will thus provide an effective remedy for border disputes and internecine troubles. In a united Africa, there could be no frontier claims between Ethiopia and Somalia, or between Zanzibar and Kenya, Guinea or Liberia, or between Ghana, Togoland, and the Ivory Coast. Because we would regard ourselves as one great continental family of nations. Some of the leaders, it must be confessed, do not see the struggle of their brother Africans as part of their own struggle. Even if they did, they would not be free to express their solidarity. These rifts are consciously created by the imperialists between Africans, where they can sit back and watch with sly satisfaction, as well as contempt for those who fail to see how they are being used against Africa's best interests. Regrettably, those states include some who were among the freedom fighters of yesterday and who haven't won their independence, are willing to drop it for some token aid, and thereby deny to those still struggling for freedom even their moral support. Here is a phenomenon against which all African freedom fighters must be on their guard and resist to the utmost. Even though I appreciate the difficulties facing us, I must admit, I find it strange to watch some of us returning willingly to the colonialist fold. This time, they don't even have the excuse of being forced to subject themselves to foreign domination. It makes one wonder, why so much effort and sacrifice and so many lives were given up to the achievement of independence in the first place, if it can only be so quickly and easily surrendered. Unhappily for us, colonialism creates in some intellectual allegiances which are not severed at the moment of independence, but remain to condition loyalties away from Africa towards the metropolis which draws them. They are unable, it would appear, to accept the idea that Africans can get together to make viable and going concern of a combined African continent, but rather see their salvation in coming together in association like the Franco-African community mooted recently at Bangui. Although there are many here who speak English, French, Spanish, or Portuguese, nevertheless, we are all Africans. Africans fighting for Africa's independence, Africa's unity, Africa's future. I have said that I understand the difficulties of these states, which are drawing away from the African community back into that of Europe, faced with the demands of their people for rising standards of living and better social conditions, but charged with economies that can hardly meet the recurrent expenditures of administration and maintenance. They are in dilemma. And standing at their elbows are the neo-colonialist agents, beckoning them back with a smile into the web of imperialism, though it may have a new look this time and offer the irresistible bait of immediate help. But this help will be far outweighed, as they will experience with no great loss of time by the knots into which their economies will be tied by the Euro-African Association. Imperialism does not change its nature. It only changes its front. It still needs colonial appendages, whether in name or in fact, to exploit and at the same time to support its Cold War strategy. in the face of this serious threat to our economy, the independence in Africa, we must begin to build immediately our own continental common market. For it is easy for anyone who studies the common market organization closely to realize that the common market is aimed at harnessing the African countries to satisfy the profit lust of the imperialist bloc and to prevent us from following an independent neutralist policy. It is easy to see that the imperialists and the colonialists are determined to retain the African countries in the position of suppliers of cheap raw materials. If we do not resist this threat, and if we throw in our lot with the common market, we shall doom the economy of Africa to a state of perpetual subjection to the economy of Western Europe. This will, of course, hinder the industrialization of our young African states. It is impossible to think of economic development and national independence without possessing an unfettered capacity for maintaining a strong industrial power. The activities of the common market are therefore fraught with dangerous political and economic consequences for the independent African states. The organization constitutes an attempt to replace the old system of colonial exploitation by a new system of collective colonialism, which will be stronger and more dangerous than the old evils we are striving to liquidate from our continent.
In that speech, Dr. Nkrumah cajoled, convinced, explained, and even demonstrated to his contemporaries why Africa needed to unite, but to no anvil. Today, we still have those unpatriotic African individuals who steal Africa money and send them to Europe and America banks for safekeeping. What a fools! Our fathers have failed the continent. Can the youth of today revisit this laudable and lofty idea so that Africa can have a strong voice at the comedy of nations at the world stage? I therefore call on all young Pan-Africanists to continue the discussion of the United States of Africa on the social media so as to rekindle the unification of Africa discussion. It is possible. We can. Nkrumah never dies. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Bye.